Great. I want to be sure that our captioner is good to go with captioning. Is everything okay on your end? I'm going to assume so.
Hi, this is your captioner, Karen, and the captioning has disappeared, and I've been trying to get a hold of you in chat, but you need to make me the captioner and open that chat bar again, and I will try to get connected.
So I am trying to do that, and it's actually not allowing me to do that. I don't have that feature anymore. Karen, do you have the option to make
I don't have that option here.
Karen, my co-host, do you have that option?
Yes, let me see.
Yeah, it disappeared for me. I've been trying to work with my headquarters to see whether they can give advice, and they don't have advice. Something happened when we departed the meeting and came back in, and that disappeared. What I can do is go ahead and, there we go.
There we go.
Hang up and try and do this quickly.
Great.
Thank you. No, that's great. Thank you so much for troubleshooting that. Okay, everyone, we are good to go. Hi, I am Michelle Pacansky-Brock, and welcome to our Can Innovate 2019 keynote session with Kona Jones. We're so happy to have you here today. I'm faculty mentor for online teaching and learning with CBC OEI and @ONE, and I'm thrilled to be able to host our kickoff event today. We have more people here than ever for Can Innovate 2019, and we're just absolutely thrilled to have Kona be our keynote. So let me tell you a little bit about Kona. Kona is the Director of Online Learning and coordinates the Faculty Academy at Richland Community College in Illinois. She is responsible for the development of faculty and student technology training materials, provides instructional design support to faculty, oversees the assessment of online courses, and facilitates faculty professional development. Being from a community college, she wears many hats like all of us do, so we can definitely feel that in your description here of your duties. Kona loves teaching, and she's an adjunct instructor of statistics and developmental psychology. Her passion is student success, and in 2019, she was awarded the Adjunct Faculty of the Year Award. Kona is also a Canvas coach and Canvassador. Did I say that right? I hope I said that right. Contributing extensively in the online Canvas community and elsewhere. So I bet many of you are already very familiar with Kona's work. And I'll just tell you, the first time I was introduced to Kona's work was at InstructureCon, when I tried to go to one of her sessions and found myself not only not able to get in the room, but not able to get into the hallway outside the room because that many people were trying to attend. So I immediately thought, who is this person? And Kona and I have connected since then on Twitter, and feel like I know you, Kona. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now.
And I am going to put the link to
wrong one.
Kona's resource page in the chat. That's where you can get access to her slides and other goodies. The archive will also be there.
Let's try this one instead. All right. So to double check, what are you guys seeing? Are you seeing the presentation?
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, double checking. I've got two monitors, so occasionally you'll get the second monitor and you would have had a really cute picture of my kiddo. But as cute as she is, I kind of wanted to talk about integrating compassion with all of you today. So just want to make sure we're on the right screen. So first of all, welcome. It's so exciting to see so many of you attending this. It really makes my heart happy because I think this is such an important topic, and it's really becoming an even more and more important topic, just given kind of the climate right now of kind of society and just how things are kind of going right now. It just seems like compassion is something, I mean, we should just be integrating into our lives in general, but especially our teaching. So I do teach statistics, and of course I love statistics, so I thought I would kind of start us out with just a little bit of statistics here. So I promise there won't be a test on this afterwards, but this is from the National College Health Assessment. It is from spring 2019. This was done by 80 plus schools, public, private, 2-year, 4-year, almost 70,000 students. And if you look at these numbers, it's kind of scary. Within the last 12 months, students reported, 87% felt overwhelmed by all they had to do. Personally, I'm kind of right there with them, so I get that. 70% felt sad. 65% felt overwhelming anxiety. 58% indicated more than average to tremendous stress. And then kind of the big one here for us as academics, 51%. So over half of those surveyed felt academics were traumatic or very difficult to handle. So kind of, wrap your brain around, these are our students, right? Because this was a national survey and a recent one, within the last 12 months. And these are our students. This is kind of where they're at. So I'm interested though, what do you think? What's your experience? We should have a survey that's popping up, hopefully, yay. So what is your experience? And I'm just curious, do you see a lot of mental health issues with your students? Do you see some, a few? You don't see any, which would be wonderful. So I'm just kind of curious, where are you at? I'm not seeing the results.
Kona, we've got about 300 people, or 65% of attendees have responded so far. So how about we do?
Wonderful. We can go ahead and close it. This was just,
so I'm going to end the poll and then show the results to everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Can
So
you see them?
Yeah, I can. Okay. Thank you. It's kind of weird because I have the dual monitor. So some of my stuff, I apologize if I'm looking over here. It's because some of the stuff is showing up on my other monitor. So what's your experience? Okay, so here we've got, a quarter of us saying that you see a lot of mental health issues with your students, right? So almost 25%, 50%, so over half do see some. Thankfully, we've got, 22%, so almost a quarter see few, and then 5% say they don't see any. And wow, that's wonderful. I'd love to know where you're teaching at, or if it's the subject, or I'm not sure, because I think that's wonderful. But as you can see, it looks like the experience for a lot of us is that we are seeing, so 75% of us are seeing some to a lot of mental health issues with your students. And so where does that fit in with me? Well, I teach online, so, strike one for many students. And then I teach statistics. So strike two. I'm guessing there might be a few of you out there who would be super excited to take my class, but in general, most of my students are not really super excited to be taking my class. And so just to kind of give you an idea of where most of my students are at, I've got this feedback that one of my students provided for me last spring. And it stuck with me. And I've been terrified to take statistics. Everyone I work with has told me it was they're terrified to work with, has told me that this was their dreaded class and good luck, right? Dreaded class and good luck. When I signed up, I felt like I was taking a death march. Wow, yeah, a death march. So I have a student, and this is not an unusual student. Granted, it's unusual that the student actually said they felt like they were taking a death march when they went to go sign up for my class. But here's a student who has this much anxiety, terrified to even walk in my class. Well, granted, not walk in, it's an online class. But before my class even starts, here's a student who's already nerved up, who's already, terrified. And what's the problem with that? The problem is that when students are that anxious, they can't think. I also have a background in cognitive psychology, and there's research backing up that when you're in that fight or flight mode, when your gut is churning, when you're feeling anxious and stressed, your brain cannot process higher level things. It doesn't, it can't. It's too busy, that brain from way back. It's telling you, hey, I'm in fight or flight. I don't need to learn anything new. I need to survive. And if your brain is in survival mode, you can't comprehend things. You can't learn things. And so we've got all of these students that both you've also indicated, 75% of us indicating, who are experiencing mental health issues. And then I know for my subject specifically, I've got students who they're anxious, they're terrified. It's just not good. And so for me, what I found is that the single most important strategy we can use to help our students to succeed in our courses is just merely to care about them as learners and human beings. This is a quote from an amazing book. I hope if you haven't read it, go get it, How Humans Learn, the Science and Stories Behind Effective College Teaching. It's a wonderful book, and I love this because it really does, for me, hit home. You just really need to care about our students as learners and human beings. We need to have that compassion, because if we can connect with our students, that's where we can start making a difference, right? So if my students, they might be terrified, they might be anxious, but if I can connect with them, if I can help them see that I care about them as a human, I want them to be successful, I'm starting to talk them down off the ledge, right? So that fight or flight in their brain, that anxiety, if I can start to lessen that anxiety through some compassion, through showing the students how much I care about them and their learning, then that's going to start opening them up to their learning. And that's so important because, right, we want all of our students to be successful. Our students want to be successful. None of our students are probably going to come into our class hoping to fail, right? Our students coming into class, they might be scared that they might not succeed, but they all want to succeed. And so for me, putting in this compassion, humanizing the classroom, all of those things kind of pull together so that we can really help our students to be the best they can be. And so kind of what we're going to be talking about then for the rest of this session are some high impact practices. These are some teaching practices that I utilize. There's some carryover between this and then the Canvas tools, but I'm going to talk about the teaching practices, and then we're going to actually dig into Canvas and kind of show some things I consider high impact, but not hard to do and can be quickly and easily done. So that's kind of the catch there too. I don't think a lot of these things are super difficult or really hard or even take necessarily a lot of time, but they really have a high impact on students. So the first is just employ a student survey. And I do this the very first week of class. And in that survey, I know some people do like a discussion and will ask students to provide information and things like that. And what I do instead, I mean, I have an introductory, discussion, right? But what I do is for this survey, I ask students information like, what's your preferred name, right? What do you want me to call you? Maybe it's a shortened version of your name. Maybe it's a nickname. What is it you want me to refer to you within our classroom environment? What's your preferred pronouns, right? What is it that might potentially hinder your success in our course? Do you have anything that you'd like me to know that could help me help you to be more successful? And I ask the students these questions, and then I go through and I really read them, and I use that kind of information for the rest of the semester to help me work with the students. So that way, I'm calling a student by their preferred name. I'm using their preferred pronoun, right? Well, that's kind of that compassionate piece, because the student starts feeling like I care about them as a person. I care about them as an individual, right? They're not just a number. They're not just whatever name is in my grade book. Utilizing audio and video. Obviously, you're all seeing me. Hi. But utilizing audio and video really helps you connect with the students, and for the students to get a feel for where are you coming from? Sometimes I can type something, but the way I would say it comes across completely different. So having the audio, having the video, I actually, because I think about it, and when I'm doing face-to-face teaching, I explain the directions for an assignment, right? These directions might be written on the paper, but I still talk through the directions. I still explain it to the students. So even in my class, I'll go ahead and I might have the directions for an assignment, there in Canvas. I'll still create a video and I'll talk through those assignments just like I would in class. Well, you know what the students feel when they see that? They feel that compassion, they feel the caring, that I cared enough to do that for them. Let students resubmit quizzes and assignments. Okay, I'll admit, I know this doesn't work for everyone, but for me, this has been huge. This makes such a big difference. In fact, I'll show you. Having the opportunity to resubmit quizzes allows me to actually learn and process the material rather than memorize facts and be stuck with a low grade if I bomb it the first time. So we want to talk about mental health with students, right? We want to talk about students really learning, giving students that ability to resubmit a quiz or to resubmit an assignment that they bomb gives them the ability to actually push themselves, because you know what, they know, if I totally bomb this, she's going to let me redo it. It's not the end of the world. So when you're talking about lessening that anxiety, lessening that stress, and instead focusing on that mastery learning, that's what happens when you allow students to do that. I know that doesn't work for every class. I understand that there are different things, but even if it's one assignment or certain things that you could do that for, or maybe you can look at your class and say, you know, I could do that. It really helps students. I get this feedback from students time and time again, just how much they appreciate that they are allowed to do this, and just the difference it makes in their learning and their ability to learn the content. So back to our list, providing supportive and actionable feedback. For me, this is also huge, because if it's not supportive, they're not going to listen. I mean, what if your boss comes to you and it's got great feedback, but it's all super constructive? Well, sometimes when you start with that, it shuts people down. So you want to try to be supportive, but then also actionable in terms of just telling the student, you know, you had a bunch of problems on this, you really need to rework it. Well, where's the actionable feedback, right? Where are you explaining to students what they actually need to do to improve? Do they need to go back and reread something? Do they need to rewatch a video? Do they need to focus in on something specific? Make sure that's actionable feedback, but very supportive as well. I liken it to, and I never really thought about this way until I was talking with another instructor one time. And you know, she had 40 papers to grade. And by the time she got to that 39th paper, man, she was not feeling the feedback, right? It was getting hard to provide that supportive feedback. But we were having that conversation. It might be the 39th paper she was grading, but it was going to be the only paper that student got back and the only feedback that student got. And then obviously get feedback from students. Maybe not obvious, but for me, this is huge. I actually ask for feedback from students every week. It's a survey that I do in Canvas, and I just ask students, hey, give me some feedback. Let me know, how did things go this week? Did you like this new assignment I tried? How did the project go? Where are you at? But I ask students to give me feedback, and then I reply back to them on some of that. And it's amazing, even if you just do it, you know, at the end of every, you know, module, at the end of every, depending on how you work your modules, but you know, even every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, just getting feedback from students, it's huge. It can change how you teach and even the way you think about your teaching in so many different ways. All right, so here's my teaching practices, but what about the super fun stuff, right? Yeah, the Canvas stuff. So here are my top 4, what I consider high impact Canvas features. Now, of course, I love, you know, almost all things Canvas. So, you know, I'd love to jump into mastery paths and stuff like that. But when we're talking about things that I think don't require a lot of time to set up or don't require a lot of time to use, but can have a high impact, these are my 4 big ones. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to actually take a look and show you really quick how to utilize these. So the first one is that notes column. So here I am. This is an example gradebook, so no FERPAs being, you know, ruined or anything like that, I promise. And so you can see right here is that notes column. And what I do, so you remember in my teaching practices, I ask students in that student survey, hey, tell me what's going, you know, tell me what your name is, your preferred name, your preferred pronouns, you know, what's happening in your life. I take that and then I do a quick summary right here in that notes column. Now, if you're not sure how to turn that notes column on, you're going, what? There's a notes column in Canvas? So it is in both the old gradebook and the new one. This is the new gradebook. And the new gradebook, you would just go up to View, and you'd make sure that notes is checked right there. In the old gradebook, I think it was like over here, and I'm finding it hard to remember, but I'm pretty sure it was over on the right for the notes to enable that. But then once you do that, you can just click in and enter anything you want. Students can't see it, so you can put anything you want in there. But then that way, when, let's say, I need to message, you know, Cody here. Well, I can click on Cody's name, right? And this comes up. I could then click the message icon, message her. And I remember she's got 3 kids and 2 jobs. So when I approach her, I can say, hey, I noticed you missed a couple assignments, or in this case, the student's doing really great. I could say, Cody, man, you are knocking it out of the park. You are doing awesome in my class. I know with 3 kids, 2 jobs, your life must be crazy. I really appreciate the hard work you're doing in my class. Well, think about that connection versus me even just saying an email, hey, you're doing great, versus, hey, I know you have 3 kids, 2 jobs. Well, that student now feels that connection. She feels that I'm actually treating her like a real person because I'm connecting with her in terms of, calling her by if she has a preferred name, referring to, the kids and the job that she's already told me about. That's where it's really cool. That's where you can make those connections and students really feel like you're caring about them. So the next one, so that was the notes column. I adore the notes column. I use it all the time. The other one is the message students who. So here we go. Here's my, right here. Let's say I want to message all of my students who scored below a certain thing. Well, you could go one by one and message them, right? But for me, if you come up here, and this is in the new grade book, even though this functionality is in the old one as well, and you just do message students who, and then you can have haven't submitted, haven't been graded, or scored less than. So I want to say all students who scored less than 80%. You can change this. So you can, edit that, say what you'd like to say. Students do not see each other. It goes as an individual message in Canvas to students. And then you can send that message off. And I love this because you know what? This is how I remind students that an assignment's due. So I can quickly and easily, in fact, just this morning, I already sent out all my message students who, reminding students that they've got homework due tonight. Well, you know what? It took me about 3 minutes, but it took me about 30 seconds to just do that quick message. And it makes all the world of the students because they feel like I care, right? They feel like, wow, she took that time to message me and remind me that my assignment's due. Okay, so it took me, actually, it didn't even probably take me 30 seconds to do that, but it makes a huge difference with our students. So you can do that, anything in the grade book, but here's the really cool new thing. New analytics. So new analytics just, I think, formally came out. If you don't have it here, you can check for it in your course settings. So go down to your course settings, click over on navigation, look for new analytics. It might be down in here. You might need to pull it up to turn it on. If it's not there and you can't find it, go ahead, sorry, campus admins, I'll call your campus admin and say, hey, where's the new analytics? Because you're gonna love this feature. Okay, so in the past, we were able to see, hey, for my resources, right? Maybe here's how often the students were looking at this. So let's see this test page for ARC. I've got 1 student who viewed that test page for ARC, right? But in the past, like, great, so I know 1 student viewed it. I don't know which student viewed it, right? So, I can come to students and say, oh, well, they had a bunch of page views, right? It's really hard to tell exactly what students did. Well, up here, you can now click on the message students who, right? And for didn't view, or you could use it as view, and here's that test page for ARC, you can now see exactly which students didn't view that page. Woo! I'm sorry. I got so giddy excited when I saw this because I could always message students who hadn't participated or whatever in assignments and discussions and quizzes. I had never been able to do this for pages. So for me, this was like the coolest thing ever. I love this because let's say you've got a really important page of information that you want students to make sure they've got. Well, right here, you can message students who and remind them, hey, you need to be, and you can change the title, you can change the message. If you know, hey, this student, whatever, you can get rid of one of the students out of the list. But ultimately, you can go through here and go by page or assignment or whatever. You can also type in the box. So like if you're looking for something specific, like Subway, you can start typing as well. So you don't have to like scroll through the list or whatever. But you can now message students who didn't view a page and remind them like, hey, you need to view this. Or you can do it by viewed as well if you want to see, hey, which students did view like that test page for ARC. All right, well, you could send that kudo to that 1 student, say, hey, Liz, I really appreciate that you've already viewed this page and it's going to really help you be successful. So for me, this was like a huge new bell and whistle thing with Canvas. I love it, and I can't wait to like really start integrating it into my class stuff. So, okay, so we worked through notes, message students who. The next one is going to be adding that audio and video feedback. We have Canvas Studio, so I do all of mine with Canvas Studio, but since not everyone has Canvas Studio, which sorry, because it's awesome, what you can do is integrate, and what I would recommend is just using these built-in audio tools. So here I am, this is SpeedGrader for an assignment, and what I love doing and what students just, it makes a huge difference with them on some projects, is if I go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to add a media comment. So I could type this comment, but I'm just going to go ahead and pull up this media comment. And, oh, you know what, I haven't tested it with Zoom. So maybe it won't let me test it with Zoom. I'm sorry, I never got a chance to test it with Zoom. But if you click that media comment, it would give you the option of doing audio and video, or just audio. And then you could talk through the assignment. Students especially love it. If I have a student who contacts me because they did really bad in the quiz, they are always like, oh, I did so bad on this quiz. What can I do? Or could you explain where I went wrong? And I will totally like pull the quiz up and then turn on some kind of audio or video, and then I'll talk through and explain, like, okay, here's where you went wrong. Here's where you need to rethink this. So this little button right here, if you haven't played around with it, check it out. It's not hard to use. I wish I could, I'm sorry. See, the best laid plans, right? It was working. I just didn't get a chance to test it in Zoom. But normally you click on it,
Can I jump in
like
quick?
right before this.
We have a question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's a very timely question.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it has to do with captioning those audio comments. And by the way, this will be part of one of our Canvas combo sessions later today. But the survey that you mentioned, something that we recommend is including a question in that survey that says, I'm planning to leave you voice comments or audio comments this semester. How does that work for you? And give students two options. That sounds great, or I would prefer written feedback. So if you get that, I would prefer written feedback, you put it in the notes column, and then students don't need to disclose why it doesn't work for them. It just, they prefer written feedback. And so that's a little tip.
So this is why, everyone, I fangirl over Michelle, because she is amazing. And that is such a great, like, mind blown once again. Like, that is a great idea. Normally what I do is right after I get done doing my very first feedback, I'll send a message to students letting them know, here's the feedback, make sure you can view it, make sure everything's good with it. So that's kind of my backwards reverse way of similar, but I've never done it that specifically. And I love that students don't have to self-identify. So yay, that's wonderful. And thank you so much for doing that, for throwing that little piece in. All right, so definitely though, students love it when you can give this kind of feedback. Honestly, I often find that it's quicker for me to just talk than it is for me to type. Now, granted, you can do the little speech recognition and you can turn that on and you can talk, you know, and it'll do a little thing right there. But students like, I think, actually hearing, well, some students, and good point taken, but a lot of times my students really say that they appreciate hearing my voice. Also, if maybe they didn't do so good, I think hearing my voice and hearing the caring in my voice means a lot to them. So excellent point. Thank you. All right, so on to the last thing. And this is just kind of something I just kind of stumbled on, and students really appreciate it. So what it is setting requirements. So like the view, submit, scored at least, submit, on everything in my class. So every single thing I add a requirement to. So that doesn't mean they have to do it to be able to move forward in the class. That's a prerequisite, but I do add the requirement. And why do I add that? This is why. I'm going to go ahead and show it in student view. By making everything a requirement, students get this wonderful little green check mark, letting them know when they've completed something. And students love that. Students, I get it all the time. They're like, I love that I can tell exactly where I left off. I can tell if I've looked at that page, if I've done that assignment, they can tell that. And it's done just by adding those requirements. You can also layer it with the prerequisites, but you don't have to. You can just make it to where you can, the student can easily see, oh, hey, I haven't looked at this one yet, and I need to still do these. And that's huge for the students. I will tell you that if I forget to, like if I add something new in a module and I forget to add that requirement, I will students say, where is my green check mark? Like I clicked on it, my check mark's not there. And I'll be like, I'm sorry, I'll add that requirement. Give me a minute, I'll add it. But students really appreciate it and it's not hard to do. So showing how you would add that. So this one is already done, I have those ones done, but I went ahead and took them off of my example week 1 here. So you just come over to your module, click edit, and then remember the prerequisite is what would lock them out until they did something. For this, I just add the requirements, and that does not lock students out of anything. So you can say that they must move in order. I don't do that, but here it just says, you know, week 1, view this item. Yep. Then I get discussions. I want them to submit, and quiz 1. I want them, you could do score, but I normally just do submit the assignment. And here, project 1, submit the assignment. Yeah, sorry, I've got a lot of assignments. I keep my students busy. All right, and then you click update and relock, and there you go. Now you've got the view, submit, 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 submit. I got a lot of things for them to submit. But it's just that quick and easy. When you roll your class from one semester to the next, these stay. So once you set them, you don't have to come back and like keep doing them every semester unless you add something new. Otherwise, it's there. But there you go. I love this also because if you click this view progress, so the students love it because they get the green check mark. I like it because if I click now this view progress, and let's check this student, I can see the items that student still needs to complete for every module. And isn't that cool, right? So, you know, you saw my message students who, you saw some of those other tricks, but by doing this, I can then click through all of my students. Now, granted, this is an example course, it's not the, but in my real class, and I can see exactly what items the student has to complete. So I can see, did that student even click on my Minitab resources? You know, they're asking me all these Minitab questions, but they haven't even clicked on my resource page yet, right? So I like it for that reason. I find it really helpful. I love the module progress, but my students love it because they can track it. And so they kind of feel warm and fuzzy because, hey, I know whether I've submitted something. So those are some of my top 4 that I think are pretty easy to do, but have a lot of impact on students. So you remember my student, remember my Death March student from the get-go, right? My one who I felt like I was in a death march. Well, here she was at the end of the semester. So this is the feedback I got from that same student at the end of the semester. She says, I wish I had known how enjoyable this class was before it began. I did not expect to enjoy it and dreaded starting the class, but I liked it, right? So my Death March student moved from, you know, this is going to be the worst thing ever, and I'm terrified, to I wish I had known how enjoyable this class was. I actually liked it. And for me, I will take that as I liked it. I mean, this is an online stats class. I will take that she thought it was enjoyable and that she liked it any day of the week. So this is just kind of the feedback, some of the things I get from students because I really take the time to integrate the caring into my class, to integrate some of those high impact practices that a lot of times aren't hard for me to do, but have that big impact on the students where they feel cared about, they feel like I really, truly want them to succeed. So
thank you so much.
Thank
That was
you.
amazing. I can tell from the energy in the chat that a lot of people have taken so many valuable and practical strategies away. In addition to that important message about needing to understand that our students are human and knowing what's happening on the other side of the screen and creating an environment where they can share their realities and their stories with us. So I'm going to go over to the Q&A. We've been encouraging folks to upvote questions in the Q&A. So we have some that have risen to the top. And basically
Yay.
how I'm going to approach this.
Woohoo.
So Dana says that she's talking about the difference on mobile. So Dana's question is, I'm wondering if this works for people who, and I'm not sure exactly what point in your presentation she asked this question,
Okay.
but I'm wondering if this works for people who use the phone app. It seems it doesn't register when students, what students do for instructors to see. So probably the analytics maybe?
See, now, I thought they had fixed that. I will agree in the past that had been a really, if that's what you're talking about with the analytics, I would
New
wholeheartedly-
analytics.
Yeah, I would
Thank you,
agree
Donna. Yeah.
that had been a problem in the past. As far as I was aware, and especially with the new analytics, I thought that was kind of one of the purposes within the new analytics is that they were going to have that deeper integration, and we weren't going to have that problem. So I don't actually work for Instructure, so I cannot say 100%, but it was my understanding that, knock on wood, that problem is fixed. Because you're right, I had the exact same issue where I would be like, students, like, hey, and they're like, no, I really did. And you're like, okay, you know, based on our conversation, I can tell you did. But I think the new analytics should solve that problem.
And the other thing that I've heard is that beta analytics, there's a delay between what the students do and the data you see. So that's another thing to consider. I don't know exactly how long that delay is, but I've heard that it's up to 24 hours right now.
Yes.
Which I'm sure will improve. And beta analytics will be part of our 1 o'clock Canvas combo session if anyone wants to learn more about that and how it's being used over at Humboldt State University.
Well, there you go. So just, I went ahead, and this is my data analytics page. And so this is the activity as of October 24th at 2:49. So as of yesterday afternoon, that's what it was.
There
and you're
it
right.
is.
So that is something, that is that kind of grain of salt, so to speak. And I guess I'm hoping that as they go along, it'll be better. But at the same time, man, just having access to that at all for me is pretty awesome.
Great. There's been some questions about how do I do that? How do I do that? So I want to be sure that you have the link to Kona's session Kona's session resources. And Karen, if you could put that in the chat again, that would be great. Kona has links out to different guides along with her slides, so you can click through and see the screenshots again if that's helpful. The archive of the session will be on that page within 1 week as well. We have the closed captioning question has bubbled up to the top of the Q&A, although we already answered it. So do you want to address that again? Is the audio video feedback closed captions and a strategy for resolving that?
Oh, so for me, because I did mention that I technically use Studio, and the Canvas Studio, that's actually why we went with Canvas Studio.
And what is Canvas Studio?
Canvas Studio is Canvas has an extra product I guess it fits right in, but it's not a built-in part of Canvas, and it's a media platform. And so it allows faculty to upload their video, create video, and it's the video creation part that I like to use because you can just click on it. It will do a screen record and your picture if you want of anything you're looking at, and it does have automatic captioning. And so for me, that's how I do that. So I'm not an expert on those, even though I will say, as far as I'm aware, you can add captioning. I do not think it's super easy from my previous experience, but I'll admit I have not tried to caption those in probably a couple of years. And because that's honestly why our college went to Canvas Studio, we were having issues with trying to provide easy captioning. Our faculty were struggling because they're trying to do the right thing, and captioning is not always easy. And Canvas Studio has done a great job making it easy for us to have captioning for whatever it is we're doing. So that's why we switched. So last time I checked, you can. It's just not super easy. I think you have to manually do it. So that's where if you've got another tool that you're using, there are some other free tools out there that you might find easier, that might do a better job. And then I will save it to the presentation, who's probably going to be way more of an expert because they've really dug into it recently. I haven't dug into it because I use Studio.
And we're seeing lots of comments in the chat about different colleges across the California Community College system that are using Canvas Studio. So I see that Foothill College is, and Woodland Community College, and I know I've missed some, so forgive me, but reach out to your peers. I think that this is a great conversation to have, and I fully agree that streamlining the captioning would be great. So Kevin Kelly has a question, and we only have a few minutes left, but how would you like to answer this one? Would love to hear strategies for managing student feedback preferences, etc., for large online courses, 75 to 100 students.
Ooh, oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. So probably for me, it would end up being some kind of spreadsheet, but I'm a statistics person, so I like my spreadsheets. But if you had a feedback preference, I guess I would try to keep it somewhere. I like the notes column because it's in Canvas and it's quick and easy for me to click on grades and see that notes column. So maybe that's someplace where you integrate in notes, maybe it's a NA for no audio, video or something like that. And then you can just kind of refer back to that. But at the same time, if you can create your own sections, you could create section. I mean, I could come up with all sorts of crazy hacky ways to do it, depending on what your college allows you to do. But in all honesty, if you don't have a lot of leeway in terms of creating sections, even groups, I'm not sure groups would really get you. Sections is probably would be the best bet, because then you could grade by section and you would know this section does not want, audio video feedback. This section does like audio video feedback. I mean, so sections for me is a really cool way. If you have the ability to create sections in your course, I would totally rock the section thing, because then you can grade by section and then it would be really easy to manage that. So I guess sections would be my top choice if you can, or if you can convince your wonderful campus admin at your school of doing that. Sections would be the first choice. Otherwise, I would try to put it someplace convenient and make sure it's alphabetical, and it would be difficult, but you could do it. Sections though, sections.
Yeah, okay. That's always a tricky question, I know. And Dana is asking a question that is now at the top here. I get confused and anxious about the relock warning. Does it affect previous modules?
The relock warning, it does not affect the previous module. It will only, and that's why I try not to do it if I know, like if their students are already working in it, I won't relock it. I'll be like, no, please don't relock. But if I know the students haven't been in it, I will go ahead and relock. But ultimately, it doesn't matter as much for me for the relock, because the locking doesn't keep them out of anything. The locking only keeps them out of something if you're using prerequisites. And I don't normally use prerequisites other than maybe in my very first getting started module, to make them complete everything in that before they get into the rest of the class. So that's kind of a dual layer. If you're not using prerequisites, then the relocking doesn't really matter. And if you are, then I would be really careful about if you're working in a module that students have already worked in. Then that gets a little dicey, because then the students do get a little frustrated. They're like, but I did click on that. And you're like, I'm sorry. And if you have to do it, then I would do it. And then I would instantly send an email out to students and apologize and say, hey, I'm sorry. I had to do this. I apologize. You're just going to have to click into things anyway. Sorry about that.
Great. So we have, we're 1 minute over, but I'm going to take the liberty of asking one more question, and then we're going to wrap up for the day. So that one's done. Liz is asking, how do you get students to read and respond to feedback? They never do, and I seem to be missing something.
So what and I kind of prefaced this before. Well, first of all, I think if you've got a really good connection with your students, and also because I take the feedback from them, I ask for feedback from my students every week. I read their feedback and I respond. So for me, because I'm willing to accept feedback from them and respond back to them, I'm kind of already providing that environment of this is what we do in our class. We give feedback and we receive feedback, and we share feedback. And so I kind of am already modeling it by asking for students for feedback and then responding to them. I also, in that very first week, as soon as I'm done grading things, I will email the class and say, hey class, I finished grading everything. I provided feedback. Please go back, look at your grade, look at the rubric, and actually view my feedback. I then send them the links to the guides that show how to view the different types of feedback. And then I ask them to actually comment that they were able to see my feedback. And I do that first week just so they can see, look, and I really do have feedback and this is where it's at. And I can see that they really know. After that, what I do is at the end of every week when I'm done grading, I send an email out, say, hey, everyone, I'm done grading. You've got your feedback. Please go make sure that you view your feedback and ask them questions. And I think it's because of just the environment I've created. I actually had a student say, you put 110% into the class, so how can't I put 100% in? And that was kind of, you know, honestly, when the student said that, I kind of teared up. I'm like, oh, like, you're the best student
That was
ever.
the best answer. I completely agree with you. It comes down to establishing that relationship, and what you give, students give back. I completely agree. And what a great way to wrap up today's session. Thank you everyone for being here. Kona, thank you so much for sharing your great teaching, our online teaching practices with us. This has been a wonderful way to kick off today's event. Everyone, we hope to see you at the 10 o'clock, one of the 10 o'clock events that will be starting in about 12 minutes. So we're going to sign off here and hope to see you later. Thanks, Kona.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. See you in Twitter and the community.
Okay, I'm going to stop.